We're talking Mystery Science Theater today on Retro Serial. Hey everyone, you're watching or listening to Retro Serial. I'm your host, DNC. I'm glad you'd be joining us on today's program. You don't want to miss the program today, especially if you were a big MST3K fan. On today's program, we have returning guests, Eric, the Unapologetic Geek from his channel, and also Thrash Pondo Ponds. We're going to get to all that. That's what we're going to be talking about today, so I don't need to introduce this a bunch of times. But I just want to let everybody know, I want to thank you for watching. If you like what you're seeing here, please don't forget to hit that like button, hit the share button, and hit the subscribe button. Those three things right there are absolutely free for you to do, and they mean the world to us here at Retro Serial. If you want to go a step further, you're always welcome to hit the links below to the Patreon page or the Venmo page. Where you can make your donations, and pretty soon I'm actually going to be getting a PayPal page as well for people who just want to donate in different ways. I really appreciate everything that comes in. It means the world to us here. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time, and we're just going to jump right into today's program.
Works for me.
All right, everyone. Well, as you know what the topic is about, the topic is about Mystery Science Theater 3000, one of my all-time favorite shows to ever exist in the known universe. And it had such an impact on me, I couldn't even believe it, couldn't even tell you. And we're going to get into all of that. We're going to talk about the impact it had on all of us. But I just want to introduce my guest to you. We have with us, as always, my good friend, Thrash Pondo Ponds. How you doing, buddy?
I am relatively not unwell, thank you, and I am pumped for this show. Let me tell you.
Good. I hope you're pumped with information, so you can fill in a little where I lack, because I'm going to lack a lot. I mean, this is not like I did this is all going off memory for me, as far as Mystery Science Theater is concerned. It was such an awesome show, and we have back with us once again Eric, the Unapologetic Geek. Sometimes I'll call you Eric.
Hello.
Sometimes I'll call you Eric.
That's
Sometimes
fine.
I'll call you
Is my
Tog.
name.
Yeah, well, you can call
Either
me
is fine.
You can call me ENC or Ian, either one. It's fine with me. So
I'm drawn to call you Mr. McGill because I always go back to Better Call Saul or Breaking Bad. Jimmy McGill being a huge character. So I always want to say Mr. McGill, but that's a little too formal for this venue.
That's my father, but I don't mind being called the same name as my father. I idolize my father.
oh, that's good. It means you had a good upbringing.
I did. I think so. I didn't think so at the time, but then as I grew up and I started meeting other people and other people's families, I started realizing mine was really great.
Oh, okay. All right. How old were you when you realized that?
I was probably in my early 20s. I was in college when I really started to learn about other people's parents and other people's dysfunctions, and realizing that the weirdnesses and the dysfunctions and the insanity of my family was nothing compared to those other people's.
Yeah, you're like, I'm glad to have my set of problems and somebody else's set of problems.
Exactly. I'm blessed.
Yeah. Amen to that. Yeah. Well, let me just start out by saying that Mystery Science Theater premiered in 1988. I didn't know it actually went back that far.
Wow.
I looked. That's one thing that I did look up because I was just kind of looking it up. But if you were to ask me, just kind of top of my head, like when did it start, I would have said 90 or 91, because that's when I started watching it. Was in 1990, somewhere around there. Although, I mean, I could have my dates confused, but I know that it appeared on some other local station before it got picked up by Comedy Central. With a little bit of a different cast, in fact. And when I started watching it, I mean, this was just right up my alley. I mean, the sarcasm, the making fun of the movies. I mean, this was Gen X prime material. I mean, it was just everything that I wanted. And for me, I remember it just being so impactful because it was so different than everything else. And even though it came out in 88, I still consider it to be kind of a 90s show. Because let's face it, the ball didn't start rolling on the project until the 90s anyway. I mean, I don't think too many people knew about it in 88. It's almost like Nirvana, I mean, Nirvana had an album out in 88, but everybody, you didn't learn about that until you learned in 1991 who they were. It might have been a select few, but I wasn't one of those select few. And as I said before about the 90s, that we knew something was different, when 90 came around, especially by 91, but we didn't know what was going to stick and what wasn't going to stick. There are a few things that kind of came out and they were weird and they were odd. And I think, well, maybe this will stick, maybe it won't. And Mystery Science Theater was one of them that stuck. Benjamin, what's that? Beans Baxter was one that didn't stick. Neither was, Parker Lewis Can't Lose. And neither was.
I remember Parker Lewis Can't Lose. Come on.
It was certainly, I think Parker Lewis Can't Lose was certainly better than Ferris Bueller's Day Off, the TV show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's best forgotten, that TV show.
It's a crazy TV show, actually. But Parker Lewis was kind of the better TV version of Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
I can see that.
Yeah. Anyway, so I would think I was about, I believe I was 18 when I first saw the first episode. I know that I wasn't 17. I was about 18. And how old were you guys when you first discovered it? Let's go around the room here. Whoever wants to jump in wherever you want to jump in.
You go first.
Okay, I think I was around 16 probably, because I used to drive to a friend's house and he would watch MST3K. That's how I was introduced to it. Because in high school I had the car. I was 16. I drove everyone around.
You were the popular kid.
I was, just because I had the car.
I had a car too. At 16, so I know how it feels.
And then I tried to teach the girl I liked how to drive. It was stick shift too, and that was almost a really major disaster.
Oh no!
But anyway, no. I didn't watch a ton of it then. I didn't really get into it until college, and for certain reasons of things that happened in college, I don't really remember it as well. But yeah, yeah, I think I was about 16. I had to have been 16.
Now, did you watch it when it came on Comedy Central? Did you see any of the local TV shows?
Yeah, it was only Comedy Central. I never saw it before that.
And did you know before TV's Frank, there was another guy, right? You know about that guy, right?
I do know that. Yeah, I'm not even sure I've ever seen any of that, but I do know that is a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I went back and I've watched episodes. I mean, here and there. And it was, I mean, it was very rough around the edges. Those few episodes before it got picked up by Comedy Central, and even the first year of Comedy Central, that first season there where with that other guy was real rough, but it was pretty cool. Again, I mean, I hate to liken everything to Nirvana, but it was very much like Nirvana's Bleach compared to Nevermind. I mean, it was very, very rough around the edges. Thrash, what about you? How old were you when you discovered Mystery Science Theater, and were you blown away by it?
Well, yes. In fact, there's actually a story behind it. I actually found out about it when I was in college, and I actually didn't see it. I went to school out in Western Massachusetts, and poor college kids, most of us didn't have cable. I remember I had a little black and white portable TV, and my roommate and I blanketed our ceiling with copper wire so we could get Are You Sitting Down? 2 channels, a whopping 2 channels, and they were both in New York State. There was a cable company, but it was third rate. So even the kids who had cable didn't have it. And when I came home one summer, this had to have been 89 or 90, my friends were abuzz about the show. Bob, you have to watch this new show, this amazing new show. It's science fiction, it's comedy, you watch movies, and they were trying to describe it to me. Now, the funny thing is, there was a comedy group back in the 60s. They were known as Firesign Theater, and they were kind of reinventing themselves in the 80s. And what they were doing was they would take an old movie, black and white movie, and edit it down, and they would do voiceovers to it. do a whole new audio track, only with funny stuff that would sync up with the action going on. And it was very innovative, very funny. They used to show these on Night Flight and other channels like that. It was actually the filmmaking I wanted to do when I was trying to get into film school. And the way it was described to me, think of it also like Woody Allen's What's Up, Tiger Lily. And when they first described it to me, I go, "Oh, so what they're doing is they're taking old movies and redoing an audio track." And they go, "No, no, no. They play the movie in its entirety and they talk over it, making funny jokes." Now, I used to be something of a film snob. I know it's next to impossible for you guys to imagine that, but I was like, "Wait, they talk over the movie? No, 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 no. That won't fly. That ship won't sail with me." And they go, "No, you have to check it out. You have to check it out." And basically through geek peer pressure, I actually checked it out, and it was the funniest thing I had ever seen in my entire life. Right. And I'm like, more. I must have more.
Right. So I think when we talk about Mystery Science Theater, there are a few issues, and probably, one of the biggest issues that I could, keep back along the way, because it makes more sense to talk about the timeline of Mystery Science Theater. But I mean, everybody's going to be, well, who did you like better? Did you like Joel better, or did you like Mike or the new guy? Whatever. I don't even. I'll be honest with you. I think I've seen like maybe two halves of an episode with the new guy on it, and believe me, it's not because I didn't want to be on board or I'm a curmudgeon or whatever. It was simply for the fact that I didn't find it that appealing. I just didn't. I wanted to like it. I really did. I'm not one of these people who's like, arms folded, back, and you better not step on my.
It's new, so it's awful.
Yeah, it's right. You better not step on my nostalgia in any way whatsoever. I root for things, to be good, and when they are good, I'm genuinely happy that they're good. I don't care if it's riding the coattails of something else or trying to reinvent something else. But it just didn't appeal to me, other than the fact that Felicia Day was on there, and I love that girl. I marry her in a heartbeat. You better believe it, man. She is so cute. I just absolutely adore Felicia Day, and I would almost watch it just to watch her. So one of these days, when I'm rich and famous and have a lot of influence, I'll get her on this program. But I'm gonna go last on this one though, because I got some things to say about it. But tell me, you got to be honest, and you got to tell me why. Joel or Mike? Tug, go.
I'm gonna go with Joel, because I think his comedic timing was better. He just, nothing against Mike. I like Mike a lot, but I think Joel. When I think of MST3K, I think of Joel. Like, he is the one who I think belongs there.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And just, you thought the comedic timing was the big deal?
I do think his comedic timing works a lot better. Like his interplay with Tom Servo and the other one. Crow. Thank you. I can't believe I can't remember that off the top of my head.
Robot.
Right. I just felt like his timing and his delivery was just a little bit better, more refined.
Okay.
That's
all
it.
Right. Fair enough. Were you upset at all when they switched, when they made the announcement to switch, or that they had this
at
new
first
guy on?
I was very skeptical the first couple of times I saw the new guy, but like I got used to him. Like I said, nothing against Mike. I do really like him, but Joel's just my guy.
Yeah, of course. Okay. All right. Thrash, got to hear it from you. Cut it to a straight, buddy.
You got it. If I had to pick between Mike and Joel, I have to go with Joel for a couple of reasons. One, he was the first I saw. And whether or not they're the first chronologically, when they're the first you see of something, that usually leaves an imprint. I always pick Roger Moore over Sean Connery for James Bond, because the first James Bond movie I saw in the theaters had Roger Moore. So I think there was some imprinting there. Also, I remember Joel from before he did MST3K. In the early 80s, he was the stand-up comedian. He actually did SNL a few times. And he was really funny. He did that like permanently stoned dude, like Carl, your doorman, and he would wear these glasses. Okay, so let's see what we got here. And he would pull out like a gurney. He was a prop comic, and he pulled out like a hospital gurney, and he would just randomly pull things out of it and do a bit with each thing. And of course, it was very, very, very well rehearsed. But as a kid, I'm like, oh my god, he's so improvisational. No, he just knows what's in the box. And so I thought he was great even prior to MST3K. So now I must say that's a narrow margin. When Mike replaced him, it was a little bit of a bump. In fact, if I remember correctly, I found out it was around the time they switched from Comedy Central to the Sci-Fi Channel. And it was kind of a good news, bad news, because the place I lived in at the time had Sci-Fi Channel. They didn't have Comedy Central. So I could finally get it first run after years. And I put it on and I go, who's this guy?
Oh, no. Oh, no.
But Mike was good. Before he became the face man, he was their head writer. And he did a number of like those guest spots. Playing this character, that he did a number of those.
Yeah.
So I was not unfamiliar with him as well. So he was a close second to me.
Yeah, right. And we have to remember that Mike was there pretty much, I think, from the beginning as the head writer, wasn't he? From the very beginning of it.
Yes,
it's not like I have to say that I believe that that under Joel the references were more obscure and a little bit kind of harder to track, and he was more of a cult classic kind of a character, and Mike was more of a pop culture kind of a referencer to me anyway. I thought that's kind of the two ways I look at it. So I look at Joel as kind of being more cult classic, and then Mike being more kind of pop culture references, a little bit broader of an audience that anybody could get it. Now, I have to say that I have to go with Joel. Mike grew on me. I was devastated when I heard that Joel was leaving. I mean, I was devastated. I was Joel 100% all the way. They might as well cancel the show. This is like The Office without Michael Scott. Just stop it. Everybody just knock it off. You know, I was just up in arms that they were. And I remember that when this happened, because I was actually in Bible school in Texas, and we didn't have access to TVs or anything like that. And if you had a TV, you better have a VCR, because you're not watching anything. Unless you can get it off of a satellite from somewhere, you're not going to be watching it all. And so, but we did. So at Thanksgiving, the guy who paid for me to go on the trip to Israel, I called him. I said, listen, what you have to do is you have to record Mystery Science Theater, because it was Thanksgiving, and we all know that they do the whole Thanksgiving thing, you know, where they do all like 15 movies in a row. And I used to watch that just every Thanksgiving. I would watch that. And so I said, put in a VHS tape and send it to me. This is 1993. Okay. So I was so excited. He sent it to me, and it was the VHS tape, and it had like 2.5 movies on it altogether, because I think that the most they had like 6 hours of play. And then, you know, he just, you know, recorded it. He didn't like stop it or anything like that. He just recorded it all the way through. And there was all these commercials coming up about how they're going to replace Joel. And I'm like, WTF? What are you talking about? They're going to replace Joel. I'm like, what's going on? And then I just so happened to catch half of the last episode with Joel on live TV. There was a guy in the group that I was in whose brother lived in a town next to us, and we had a party at his house or something. And so we all went over to his house, and we were going to watch Red October, but before Red October came on, they kind of let us flow through the channels. And the guy who was the best man at my wedding, he was also a Mystery Science Theater fan. And he's like, oh, I think Mystery Science Theater's on right now. And so we're watching it. And I got to see the last episode that Joel was on, well, before he made a guest appearance. And it was Mitchell. Does anybody else remember Mitchell?
I own it on videotape.
Yeah, I own it too. Mitchell is that's one of the funniest ones. It was literally one of the funniest ones, and I was laughing. And they bumped it up because, of course, he's leaving, so they had to make it one of the more funny ones. And it was hilarious. I laughed. I did not know that was Joel's last one because they turned it off halfway through so they could watch Red freaking October. Like, I wanted to see that. Like, I want to finish Mystery Science Theater.
October standing by.
Yeah. And it was a great dinner. I pretended to be happy. I left early because I was all upset. And and went home. And then when I came back is when I started watching the Mike ones. I have to say, okay, so I have Joel over Mike. Personally speaking, Joel over Mike. But the Mike ones, they bump the comedy up. There's more laughs. There is a couple of my favorite ones is Red Zone Cuba. Have you ever seen Red Zone Cuba? Do you remember that one?
I do remember that one. Yeah.
Coleman Francis.
Yeah. With Mike and Mike, and that's actually one of my all-time favorite episodes. Is Red Zone Cuba, and it's with Mike, and and it's just a laugh after all. And I believe that they did it on purpose. They kind of had to step up the joking because they knew that they were kind of coming under the wire. So honestly, it's almost a tie for me. If you're asking, do I like Joel better than Mike? I thought Joel was a little bit. I mean, this was his brainchild in the first place. It upset me. He goes like, well, I kind of want to go on to do other things. I'm like, well, what the hell did you do? Because I don't remember seeing you after this, and
we call that the David Caruso conundrum.
Yeah,
right. I'm going to do bigger things. No, you won't. No, you're not.
But I have to say that the ones with Mike overall are funnier. I mean, again, see, I'm just proving to everybody that it's not just, if it's new, it's necessarily bad. The ones with Mike are funnier. I get more laughs out of them. I still love the old ones, but there's the jokes are much more obscure. They're still very good. Don't misunderstand me. The ones with Mike is easier to get. They're I don't know. I don't want to say they're dumber, but I mean, if that's anything, that's something on me. But there's just more for a general audience who might not know, the obscure reference of Mortimer Schnurd or something. No,
honestly, I've never thought of it that way, and that's actually, it makes a lot of sense. Because when I was younger and I would get these obscure jokes, it would make me feel really special and really smart because I was also a film snob.
No way.
So
no,
maybe that's one of the reasons I like Joel more, is because I like the obscure humor because it makes me feel special.
Right.
But I do agree that the Mike episodes, I think the writing is a little tighter. And I can see how you might think it's funnier. I'm not sure I completely agree, but I understand why you would say that.
Well, there's more jokes per minute. Yeah, I think so. So definitely. Anyway, go on, Thresh.
The best thing about Joel was there was something incredibly approachable about him. You're sitting at home, hungover on a Saturday morning, you put an MST3K, Joel comes on, and it doesn't feel like you're watching a TV show. You feel like you're on a Zoom call. In the days before Zoom calls, you really feel like you're watching this movie with him.
Yeah.
Only you don't have somebody who wants to change the channel every time it goes to commercial break or hit pause because they have to go to the bathroom. I loved watching movies with Joel. There was just something about Joel that really gave you a feeling of camaraderie.
Right. I get it. Yeah. I mean, I like Joel. If you're just picking Joel over Mike, probably the person I hang out with more is Joel and watching movies more with Joel. But the show just really honestly got funnier. There's just more laugh out loud laughs for me anyway with Mike at the helm than with Joel. But okay, well we'll go on from there. So this is let me just riff on this for just a second. Yeah, you're talking about Joel seeming kind of like more approachable. I think for me it would be Mike's more approachable. Mike seems like more of the guy that you'd hang out with a beer and talk with. Joel seems like the kind of kid who would be playing by himself and wouldn't really want you to come over and talk to him unless like it was some kind of thing. Like, I don't know. To me, that's the way it seems to me anyway. I don't know. All right, off that subject, unless somebody else got some input on it.
No, I think actually you're both kind of right. I think the thing about Joel is that his delivery, like I was talking about before, it feels more natural. So like he feels more like a real human being, whereas Mike, you kind of can tell all the jokes are scripted.
Okay.
And I think that's why Thrash maybe finds him more approachable. But at the same time, you're right. If I was gonna like hang out with somebody and have a beer with somebody, I feel like Mike would be more fun, whereas Joel would get kind of exhausting.
Yeah. Be a little bit more of a recluse kind of a person.
Yeah, definitely.
I think the second question on everybody's mind is going to be then the Crow T robot versus Tom Servo. So I'll start on this one and we'll just go around. Thrash will go next and Eric, you can go last. Let me start because I did last time. Okay, so for me it's a tie. I like them both for different reasons. I just can't choose between the two of them. They're great together. I love them. One of the things that I really like was the short with Mr. B Natural, where they were having a debate with whether or not Mr. B Natural was a boy or a girl. Talking about culturally inappropriate behavior these days. But anyway, that was fun. But I can't choose. I like them. I love them both for different reasons for who they are as individual robots. Thrash, go ahead. Crow T robot. Servo, who?
If we're doing the whole Batman Superman thing and you have to pick, I have to pick Crow T robot. And I'll tell you why for a couple of reasons. One, his eyes always got me. They remind me of like a ventriloquist dummy, like something out of that movie Magic, where that's sort of like, or like an old Ring and Bash Japanese monster movie. But with him, they're not moving around in an evil fashion. It's a very devious, like wink, wink, like did you get the in joke fashion? He was also the more snarky of the two. Both had great lines. Both played off each other wonderfully. But if you listen really, really closely, someone will, when somebody says something, the person who almost inaudibly will just say something under their breath, like a really little snarky, sassy comeback. 9 times out of 10, it's Crow T Robot. He always had that one little zinger, like, sort of like I do. So I felt an affinity for him. So again, if you have to pick, I had to go with Crow T Robot.
All right. Eric, your turn.
Gypsy.
Okay. No, Cambot.
That's not the real answer. My brother would kill me if I don't say Tom Servo, but I think I'm actually going to go with Thrash. I think Crow, I like his sarcasm more. Servo does seem like he's smarter, but I think Crow is a little bit more it's sarcasm. It's all the sarcasm. It works for me so much better.
Right.
That's
right.
all.
Yeah.
But again, it's nitpicky. Like they're neck and neck. It's really hard to choose between them.
Yeah, and you don't have to choose. I mean, I didn't. I choose both. But I think what you said there was, I think the Crow T robot's the more the snarky one, and and Tom Servo's probably more the philosophical one.
Yeah.
You know, of the two kind of thing.
That's right. Yeah, definitely.
So who are the other two?
Well, I was just gonna say he had one of the best lines in the feature film. He does that bit where he's trying to like dig through the ship, something of the Great Escape, and just out of the blue, they're trying to say, "No, you can't do this." He's like, "Come now, boy, we must confound Jerry at every turn." And how many people can pull off an Attenborough joke and make it work? when 90% of your audience never even saw The Great Escape, let alone know who Attenborough is. So he has remarkable abilities. You got to give it to him as well.
Yeah. I like them both as well. Now, who are the other two robots? You mentioned one of them.
Well, Gypsy and Cambot.
Right, yeah, Cambot.
Gypsy and Cambot. And then what were the three? This is turning into a Q&A.
I didn't know there would be a quiz.
What were the three buttons that he slapped? Oh, come on.
Movie sign.
Yes, movie sign.
Commercial break.
Yep.
And closing at the end.
Nope.
Oh,
I don't think so. I could be wrong. I didn't look any of these up. I'm just going off memory. The Mads are calling.
Oh,
right. Of course.
The Mads
obviously.
The Mads are the one who shut it down at the end every episode.
Yeah.
Right.
That's one thing I liked about the newer version is one of them was Patton Oswalt. I thought he was really funny.
Yeah, and one of them was Felicia Day.
And the other one was Felicia Day, right.
And help me out here. I can't prove this. I've actually done some digging. The Skeleton Crew, which is one of the funniest shticks. I love the fact that the henchmen dress as skeletons of the Skeleton Crew. But didn't that come from an old English psychological thriller where about Satanists, and there's a satanic motorcycle gang that wears skulls on their helmets? They fashion their helmets into skulls, and that's where that gimmick came from. Does anybody know what I'm talking about?
I don't know.
I dream this?
It sounds great, but no, I have no idea.
I'm gonna have to do more digging because I can almost prove it, and I think I've even seen the film, but it's been so many years that I can't remember if I dreamt it. The guy who did the voice of Shia Khan is in it, whose name eludes me for the moment. George something or other. I should have done more research, but let's face it, we're going
Thrash, if you don't know the answer, we definitely don't know the answer.
That's right. That's true.
I will know that for the live chat. If I have to do more research, and I will know that for the live chat. Put a pin in this for now.
We'll put a pin in it for now, but you better come back with the answer. Even if it's you dreamed it.
That's happened.
Right on. Okay, so let's talk about the settings of Mystery Science Theater. The Mads, and then later they, Deep 13 blew up the world, and then they went on this crazy chase, and then there were some cast changes and stuff like that. I'll start with you, Eric. Did you keep up with any of this?
Not really. Because I never watched it when it aired, and I never really watched it in order. I kind of just would pick it up here and there. Like the story that was going on, the meta story was complete chaos to me because I never knew from one episode to the next where it was, what was happening, and I didn't really care that much. I was more interested in the actual riffing on the movie part.
Oh yeah,
some of the skits were really funny. Don't get me wrong, I really liked them, but I was mostly there for the movie.
I think, seeing that the movie is a good 90% of the show, I think this is very, very interesting. But did you like the Mads? What was your take on them?
At first, I really didn't. It took me a few episodes to really get my head around it and to actually go with it. At first, I thought it was really cheesy and dumb. It reminded me of Beakman's World or something. But
I don't know that reference. Beakman's World. What's that?
How do you not know?
It's not even a kid show.
Oh, this 90s?
It is. It's early 90s. Yeah, okay. It's one of the most 90s thing I can think of. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sorry, there are holes in my knowledge for sure.
It's okay.
All right. And then even that very first one with the very first guy who was his helper, that was weird. Those were some weird ones, although they did have one of the best invention exchanges, which we'll get to in a minute.
Okay.
Thrash, tell me a little bit about what you think as far as the Mads are concerned, and the whole shift in the timeline, and now they're chasing him through space in a rocket and all that. What's your take on all of it?
The most amusing thing about the Mads for me was always they were truly pandering to your sci-fi buffs. It was simply one very obscure reference after another. Maybe not obscure to us, but obscure to most folks. I mean, right at the gate, the mad scientist is Dr. Clayton Forrester, Cinder War of the Worlds. TV's Frank was loosely adapted from the Metalunans in this island Earth. And most of like the in jokes they had were references, if not to old sci-fi films, but to pop culture references. Sort of like the Ben Stiller show,
Okay.
which also did that in the 90s, where just everything was, oh yeah, that's from that, and that's from that, and this is from this. And so if you listen closely, there was always something funny to take out of it. And as you said, Tug, it also made you feel clever. So you were amused and felt smart because you got the in joke. Um, Pearl, initially, I found her to be really abrasive. She was supposed to be, but I think she went a little too far. She was a little too good at it. But I love the fact that she had in her entourage um, an ape from Planet of the Apes. You can't go wrong with Planet of the Apes with me. And just the idea of, well, let's face it, he's a shtick. A life form so advanced that he seems to transcend the laws of physics, and he keeps his brain in a little pen beside him. Very, very futuristic. Um, uh, you know, uh, uh, just I keep
Dude,
going back to the word
Phantom.
gimmick,
Okay.
and I thought they actually worked better than she did. But again, she started to grow on me. So I thought they were a necessary bumper. And
Mm.
as far as necessary bumpers go, they were an amusing necessary bumper.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I have to go with Tug on this one because, quite honestly, I didn't. Well, let me just put it this way: I near the end, especially when they started getting into later seasons, I didn't keep up with it quite as much. And so, what would end up happening is I would just kind of come in on episodes, and originally I had no idea what happened. You know, like I would not have seen Mystery Science Theater for a little while, and then I would show up, and then like, what's going on? Who's Pearl? Why are they doing this? Why, what's going? And I didn't even know. I didn't even know that the guy that there was a new guy doing Crow T Robot until it was pointed out with me. He had such a similar voice that I just I didn't even catch it until later. I have to say though, the original thing I liked all of it, and I didn't when they started doing the Pearl stuff. I was there just for the movie. I kind of just was waiting for the movie to start. But the original thing where you had the meta narrative with them launching him into space and all that stuff, that was, to me, that was hilarious. I thought it was so funny. And the reason why I thought it was funny, because correct me if I'm wrong, didn't they dump the invention exchange with the advent of Mike? Didn't they stop doing the invention exchange?
I can't think of any with Mike, so maybe they did. Yeah.
Yeah, because Joel was an inventor. I mean, he was working at Gizmonic Institute, but he was working at Gizmonic Institute kind of as he was cleaning up, but he was trying to get his foot in the door as an inventor, I think, as part of the meta narrative, where Mike just got, shot into space with them. And so I think the invention exchange went out, but I really enjoyed the invention exchange. And one of the very funniest invention exchanges, and then feel free to look it up or think about your favorite ones, was in that first season with that weird guy that I didn't see until later. But they had the tongue puppets. Oh my gosh. So like instead of finger puppets, they had tongue puppets. Oh man, I loved every week I looked forward to the invention exchange. It was literally other than the show itself, that was my favorite part of the show. I really looked forward to that. There were so many of them too. I mean, I can't, there's too many. I remember one where they had the pig, where they were oinking the pig so that they could, it was like, what are those things that go like this, like Weird Al plays?
The accordion.
It's an accordion, but it's made from a pig. So you could do the incidental music from Petticoat Junction and Green Acres And another one, he's like, so you can make the incidental music. So like when somebody's looking around, like, and anyway, so those are some of my favorite one. Another favorite one of mine was when they drained Frank's blood and tried to put
I remember that one.
antifreeze in him.
Yeah.
And Roadhouse the board game.
Stone it.
Roadhouse the board game. You guys, any if you want to bring any of them up, you got any of them listed, please, by all means, let them fly. I'd love to hear
the between meal mortar where like he was shooting snack cakes. I just thought that was really funny.
Oh, yes. Right. Yeah, that was a hilarious one too.
That's the only one I can think of off the top of my head.
Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, where they had like the really like just soul crushing gifts. They had the wish squisher, where you would take a good gift, you'd send it through, and it would come out like a really crappy gift.
Right. I remember that one. Yeah. I do remember that one.
And I loved how they did it. They used that little trick where what happened was they had lids on both sides of the box. So we'd say, "You see, it's race cars. Isn't that great?" And they take it out the other end and goes, "Oh, look, it's a gift certificate to a stationery store."
Oh,
which
man,
is always something I would get from my grandparents or whatnot.
Do you guys remember? Oh, go ahead.
And then Tom Serb had the icing on the cake. It was the Easy Bake Foundry, and you would take metal from around the house and melt it down into pig iron ready for market. Like, it reminded me of, like, honest to God, it reminded me of a chemistry set my father gave me where I could use it to do experiments on the house. And I'm like, why would I want to do experiments around the house? Give me a television. Give me a tape player. Give me something cool. Don't give me a chemistry set.
Oh,
experiments around the house. So it made me think of that, like what kid is going to melt down like household metal, just for laughs. So that for some reason that stayed with me.
Yeah. Well, in light of the holiday just past Valentine's Day. I don't know what's going to come out. It's going to come out afterwards, obviously, because we're recording it after. I'm trying to get it out as quickly as possible. But in light of that, they did have an invention exchange where they had the adult Valentine's candy, but they were downers. So it was like, the heart said like, "You're like a brother to me." And
oh, right. I remember that one now.
Oh my gosh, how horrible. They were just the most, I mean, they were pretty soul crushing as far as yeah. Anyway, can I borrow money?
On Facebook sent me a really funny one. It was one of those kids' mints. It was something written on it, but it said, "You need a mint." And I'm like, what? Wow, here's a mint. You need it. Oh, it's like, wow, that's good and horrible at the same time.
Oh, that's awful. That's awful. Well, let's take a minute to just kind of talk about our favorite episodes and why we liked them. Thrash, if you want to go first, why don't you go ahead?
Well, I'm going to bend the rules a little bit, which is easy because we haven't set any. And I'm going to...
There aren't any.
Exactly. So this should be a simple task. I'm going to dip into the riff tracks, which of course came after the first edition TV show. And I've watched this, and I'm not making this up. I've watched this probably in excess of 20 times. I've also seen it live in a Fathom event. It was the MST3K riff tracks to Night of the Living Dead. It is one of the funniest things I have ever seen in my entire life. And they even managed to
seen that coming.
Yeah, I know. That's the funniest thing I've ever heard of in my life. But yes, and they even, for the live event, they even managed to put in some new material. So the live event is still worth going out and seeing, even though I already had the disc. So I'm going to open with that one.
Well, let's talk about riff tracks for just a minute before we talk about our favorite scores. I was going to keep some time open for riff tracks. If I'm not mistaken, weren't riff tracks kind of made? Well, I mean, obviously made in the sense that they needed to carry on and make money. I mean, it's a good job to have, it's great. And I remember the riff track that I liked quite a bit was the Reunion. Did anybody see the Reunion riff tracks?
Oh, I haven't seen the Reunion.
Oh, it's great. They had them all back. Everybody came back. And it was before the launching of before the launching of the Netflix special one. And so they even had the new guy to play Joel was on there too. And they did different ones. They did a lot of shorts on this riff track ones. And they did the only thing that bugged me about it. This was it was great. It was so funny. They had the original cast there, and the only thing that they didn't do, they had all these different people, and they would do a short, and they would like put these two people together, and then they would do another short and put these two people together, and they didn't do an original cast short. And that bothered me. They should have done original Crow T Robot, original Joel, and original Tom Servo. And that was the only thing about the thing that bothered me. And it did bother me. I was just like, oh gosh. But correct me if I'm wrong, though. Didn't they do the riff tracks so that you could do more popular movies, that they didn't have the ability? You can just play the riff track and watch the movie. Is that how it works?
I believe they did that on the DVDs of the regular show as well. You had the option to just play movie or play with shenanigans. So I believe that's an option that transgressed both incarnations.
Oh, well, because they have it on like Lord of the Rings too, right? I mean, they have riff track for Lord of the Rings, don't they?
Yeah, I think the idea of riff tracks was always like, even if they don't have the rights to a movie, you could still play their commentary over it, but you have to provide the movie.
Right, yeah. Right. That's what I thought it was, because they can't afford to do Lord of the Rings,
right,
and do riff track on Lord of the Rings. They do the riff track, and then you play much like Nirvana. No, I'm kidding.
I thought you were going to say Pink Floyd and Wizard of Oz.
That's exactly what I was going to say. That's what triggered it. Much like that, wasn't it like that? I thought that's what the riff tracks were all about.
I thought that was the original idea, but honestly, I've never watched any of the or heard.
You've never watched a riff track?
I never have. I'm so sorry.
I've only watched a couple of them, but I had a friend who actually put the movie with the soundtrack with it, and then gave me a few DVDs so I could watch it. That's how I watched the Lord of the Rings one, as cool. I recall. But I think that you download it and you play the video, and it tells you where to play the video at the time that it goes on, much like Pink Floyd. So, all right, now that we've learned that Eric has not seen a track, much like I didn't know who Beaker was or whatever that show is.
Beekman's World.
Beekman's World. Yes, that's exactly. He took the words right out of my mouth. That was my.
It doesn't help that the one guy, Trace, looks just like Beekman. Like he's wearing the lab coat, the lime green lab coat and all that, and looks just like him.
Oh, okay. So let's do favorite episodes. Let's get into what our favorite episodes were. Go ahead.
All right, Tug.
Okay. I'm just gonna open with Manos Hands of Fate.
Oh yeah.
That one just cracks me up. Every time they say Manos Hands of Fate, you think you're gonna get sick of it. But you never do. It's always funny. And they say it like 50 times because nothing happens during this movie. It is one of the worst movies I think they've covered that I've actually seen. And it's so the way they react to it, and the way they react to nothing happening, like they're being tortured by nothing. I don't know. It just cracks me up. It works for me so well. And it was one of the very first ones I saw. So that also helps because I got a lot of nostalgia for it. I think the one that came like right before that, what was it? Bride of the Monster. Yeah. Also a good one. I really enjoy that one too. But Manos Hands of Fate's always the first one I think of, just because it always cracks me up. Even thinking about it makes me laugh.
Yeah, that is. I saw a little bit behind the scenes interview with that one, and they were really having a tough time deciding whether or not they were going to do it because there was so much downtime in that dang movie.
Just driving for like the first half hour of the movie is just driving.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll go, and then you guys jump in anytime on any of these, because I might, spark your memory on something. So one of my favorite ones was Master Ninja, and it was funny because Master Ninja was a television show, and with I forgot the guy's name, but but basically, they had to put two TV shows together to make it, and so like it just changed like right in the middle of it. Like like who the bad guys were, and they all got resolved. And the very first Master Ninja had Demi Moore in it. Yeah,
News to me.
Yeah,
I don't know if I ever knew that. If I did, I forgot it. But
yeah. So I like the part where they shot the arrow, and the guy grabs him and he breaks the arrow, and then so those are $4.50 a piece. That was a good one. Sorry, excuse me. Master Ninja is one of my favorite. The Japanese versions of Planet of the Apes is one of my.
I expected Thrash to bring those up.
Yeah, Thrash. What about that one? Do you remember that one?
I would have. That's actually one of my favorites too. That's one of the first ones I saw too many years ago too. So yes, I love that one.
Yeah, yeah. Any other ones, Thrash? Come on, you can bring up a few of them.
Yes, and I always get the two mixed up, so please bear with me. There were Japanese kid shows that had been edited into feature films for American television. They used to show them on Creature Feature and stuff. One was Space Chief, and one was Prince of Space. And I think Space Chief was the one who the villain was a guy named Crankor, who had a laugh. He looked like the Count from Sesame Street, but he had a laugh like this.
Yes.
And their treatment of that was absolutely hysterical. One of the funniest things I had ever seen. But they bring him back because they do whichever the other one was, they do that film next, and it's so bad that they actually lose all hope. And they get a knock on the door, and it's Crankor coming to visit them. And they go, "How are you, Crankor? Come on in." He goes, "Well, I thought you folks hated me." No, you're exactly what we needed right now. How the hell are you? Goes,
right.
Well, that means a lot to me. And when he cries, he's like, and so it's almost like, to me, they merged into one 2-part series.
Right.
And I love when they reference one and another, by the way, because again, it's like you're getting it in joke. And I thought that was great. I too love Red Zone Cuba, by the way. That's an awesome one too.
That's one of my favorites. That one's hilarious.
Red Zone
Cuba is that's a laugh a minute on that one. If you haven't seen that one, you got to see it. And what else? What about Ega?
I own Ega. Ega's great.
That is a good one. I like that one.
Ega's amazing.
No means no, Ega. And then on there they had the kid who played the guitar, and his girlfriend who was, I don't know, who was like very progressive, had the very small swimsuit that she was going to wear he's like, "You're going to wear that." And the kid who plays that I think on the Invention Exchange or whatever it was, I can't remember, but in one of the intermissions they had a face tweaker that made you look like him. Stuck your face in. And the guy who actually played that part sent them a letter and a photograph of himself, because he was an up and coming heartthrob that never quite made it. The guy, not Ron Keel, obviously, but the guy who was the boyfriend. And he sent them a letter, I think not a letter, but a photograph of himself, and it said, "Sorry about my face." Sent it to the crew, Oh man, to be idolized on Mystery Science Theater, wouldn't that be the best? That's almost like being in Star Wars. I think
yeah.
I think we're coming up on the end of the program here, unless I don't know, unless there's more we want to say about the show. But why don't everybody tell everybody where we can find each other online? You're our special guest tonight, the Unapologetic Geek, Eric. So please let everybody know about your channel and what you got going on over there.
Yeah, my channel, The Unapologetic Geek, here on YouTube. And let's see. Right now, I'm working on a review of 1940's The Invisible Woman, which is the third Invisible Man movie from the Universal Classics, which obviously I like.
Mm-hmm.
And then right after that, I'm going to do Dark Star, that John Carpenter's a student film with Dan O'Bannon. I've been threatening to do that one for years, and my patrons finally voted for it. So I'm going to do that.
Good. Good. Excellent. Next time you do the public domain theater, what happened? Did that get shut down or something, or what happened?
Yeah, I'm kind of phasing it out. I might do one or two more, but I was just getting real sick of fighting the copyright bots. I mean, I would usually won those fights, but it's just exhausting. I don't like doing it, so I may stop doing it. I mean, we're talking about MST3K, and this is kind of the same idea as what I was going for. But it was fun. Like when I did Night of the Living Dead here with Thrash, probably my favorite of all of them, and I did Nosferatu with some of my podcast friends, and that was really fun. Okay. But I don't know. I want to do another one, but I haven't really found a movie that I think will bypass the copyright bots altogether. Maybe if I just find more old silent movies that I think are fun, which is hard to do because there's not a lot of fun silent movies.
Okay. All right. I get it. Well, the next time, and you have yet to have me on your program.
You're right.
Friend.
I haven't, but this month is covered, but next month I do plan on having a live stream. I would be happy to invite you. And of course, Thrash, he's always welcome.
Okay. All right. I don't feel so left out. No, last time you did invite me, but there was something that happened, and I actually thought it was a different day, and I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds great. Right. And I'm like, I can't make it. I'm sorry. So
been there.
It happens.
Yeah. So I apologize for that, but yeah, I would love to be on one of your programs one of these days. And Thrash, you got to still work on being able to have guests on your program.
I've come a long way with this new laptop, but I plan to go still further. So yeah, that's another bear I got to cross, you might say. But I've been having
at least you look and sound great now.
Yeah.
It was a long process, and I don't know, you didn't get a chance to see it, but the other day, Steve from the Life and Sad Ending invited me to join him on his show, and I got it all set in minutes. I got the whole thing set up because he had already started the show when he invited me. So I'm like chicken with the head cut off, and I get it all set up, and I go on, and it default from rather than this really nice webcam that I have over here, it defaulted to the built-in I have in my laptop.
And defaulting is the fog machine.
The fog machine. Thank you very much. Echo and the Bunny Man. And I could not, for the life of me, get back to the webcam. I finally just gave up.
Oh no!
But so I'm working. There is a way that I can make the webcam the default, but I'm afraid to do that because someday I might actually need the built-in and not be able to go back to it. I don't want to break anything. Is the short answer.
Yeah, right.
But I've made tremendous progress.
Yeah.
Tremendous progress. Thank you.
You have. Yeah. Well, good.
I did plan before my next live stream to have StreamYard because that's just that's so much easier, and I just have to figure it out real quick. It'll be easier than what I already do. So
yeah, I don't know what you do. Do you just do the YouTube live stream?
I do Zoom and I do OBS together, which is complicated and unnecessarily so. And I can't even highlight comments like you can on StreamYard. So why am I doing it the hard way?
Yeah, StreamYard, if I can do it, you can do it. I mean, seriously.
Exactly.
It's so easy. Wait a minute.
I tease you.
No, I get it. I stepped into that pile of poop by myself, so. All right. Well, I'll have you. I'm going to get this out as soon as possible. Can I? Is this Monday good for you? Or
yeah, I can do Monday.
All right, let's do Monday. If we need to bump it back a half hour, make it at 7, that's fine with me. Let me know. And yeah, so I lost your last email, so I don't know what happened to it or whatever. I don't know. It was a thread that I lost, and then when I started typing it in to look for you, I couldn't bring it up for the life of me. But
it took me a while to find yours too, because I started looking for Ian, and then like, okay, maybe Ian C. It took me a while before I thought retro or serial.
Yep, right. Exactly. I'll get you my number though, so that we can just text.
That'll be a lot easier.
Yeah. All right, man. All right, everyone. Well, thank you very much for watching. Please, if you haven't already subscribed to these guys' channel, subscribe. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, like, comment, subscribe, share on your favorite social media. It means the world to me. Become a patron. If you don't want to become a patron, hit that Venmo and just donate a few dollars to the cause. All right, everyone. And even if you don't, the number one thing that you can do to support the channel, just give me a thumbs up and just like it and just share it. I mean, quite honestly, that means the world to me. So, all right, folks, see you on another episode of Retro Serial.